There we go. Let's get our Facebook friends in here and we can start the show. Hanging out Monday morning, the 22nd. We got the wheels spinning. Oh, this is the one that had issues on Friday, Tuesday, whatever day. Oh, it went. All right. Well, welcome in. Welcome in. Like I said, it is Monday morning, a sad losers Monday. It's been a bit, Eric. 22nd. It is 6:42 where I'm at, 7:42 Central Time. What is it? 4:42 where you are?
Yep.
God bless you.
4:42.
We are Broncos for breakfast. I am Nick Kendall, joined by Eric Trickle. Eric, man, a situation we haven't been in much this season. The Denver Broncos get pounded by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Beaten to submit, pounced on, as I put in here, kind of leaning in on the Jaguar pun. And there goes that Facebook group. Sorry, we don't care. You're gone. Get out of here, Facebook. That group. We don't want to mess with you today. But yeah, really, really ugly game. But it sucks. I'm way more concerned about the injury fallout from the game than anything else. And I think, honestly, it's not the worst thing to have the Broncos be given a slice of humble pie because a lot of their wins during that win streak were 50-50 games. Let's just call it like that. Like, they still won. It still matters that they won. But, like, there was some where you play that game 10 times, you lose 5 of them just with the style that they played. So happy to see not happy to see the Broncos lose, but I'm not panicking like it's the end of the world. But boy, does that make these last 2 games sweaters, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Broncos. They entered the week with and controlled their own fate for the division and the AFC top seed in the AFC, and that's still true. They, win 2 games, and no matter what any other team does, well, the division's yours and the AFC yours. It's a weird situation where both the Chargers and the Broncos control their own fate when it comes to winning the division. Because the Chargers, as long as they win out, they win the division. So would have been nice to have this game, but at the same time, not that it's a good thing that they lost. Denver did seem to get a little bit high and mighty with it. They kind of lost that edge because all season long, they've been doubted, they've been questioned, and when they beat the Packers, they kind of, even though they didn't really celebrate the win, when you listen to them talk, they kind of made it pretty clear that, this was a statement win from them, that they beat the Packers and that they're the team to beat and all this kind of stuff. And well, they kind of lost their edge. And that was very clear against the Jaguars. And the Jaguars came in, they punched them in the mouth. They, kicked them when they were down. And, they just beat them from start to finish pretty much outside of the first 2 drives where Denver, their defense was on fire and then Jaguars made adjustments and Denver just couldn't catch up to it. And so it's a unfortunate loss. It would have been nice to see them win that 12th game in a row. I don't know if you saw it during the game, but they put up a metric about it of the 13 teams that have a 12 game win streak into the season. 9 of them have gone on to play in the Super Bowl. 5 of them have gone on to win it. So it would have been nice to get there for, just the history aspect of it. But at the same time, as I was saying, it's kind of in a way, it's a good thing they lost because maybe it'll give them that edge back and send a very clear message that this defense, which has been struggling since the bye week, needs to step it back up.
I mean, since the mid-bye week, Eric, they weren't actually that good against the Chiefs either. They're moving the ball and guys are open downfield. Just, Mahomes missed throws. So yeah, the defense has regressed. Now, I don't think they're the worst defense in the league. Let's not make it like that. But compared to the level they were playing mid-September through mid-November, where they were definitely in the conversation for a top 3 defense, now they're like very middle of the pack, in my opinion. Probably, somewhere in that 14 to 18 range. And looking, just they're frustrating. They're very boomer bust right now. And Sean Payton talked about it after the game. You had a lot of missed tackles and a lot of blown coverages. And I didn't think it was the best game plan from Vance Joseph either. Maybe you can correct me on that, but I didn't feel the need because especially with the injuries the Jags were having and how good the Broncos were stopping the run on the whole, you didn't have to be blitzing 5 or 6 guys. Your issues were more coverage and space related and eyes on the football. I would have been, and it's easy for me, Monday morning quarterback, but you said Lawrence 5 times in the game, you're getting after pretty good. I didn't think he needed to blitz so much. I'm much more leaning into the isolated pressures, sending four guys, like which one's coming, which one's dropping, and maybe keeping a little bit more eyes in the on the quarterback rather than outright blitzing him. But I mean, at the end of the day, the bottom line was they didn't execute. The tackling was poor. There were some missed coverage assignments, and want to tip your cap, want to tip your Broncos Santa cap, as I got on here. Trevor Lawrence played a hell of a game, so I want to give him credit for that. So sorry if my internet is lagging. You guys got to let me know about that as well. We got David Youngkin coming in here. Says, look at last December and this December, the defense took a step back. Yeah, they struggled last season, no doubt. David, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. And you guys in the chat, let me know if the internet is struggling. Eric said I was lagging. What do you mean by lagging? Is it like I'm behind you to respond, or is it?
It's freezing up on you and your mic keeps kind of cutting in and out.
Oh, buddy. Okay, well, I will cut down on all the other things I got going on here and maybe my video quality as well. Hopefully that will help some. But yeah, let us know. Also, let me know if my sound is off compared to Eric, because packed up the mic and I think the gain was changed. So Dave Glassman, beaten we were, improve we must. The little Star Wars Yoda talk there. Michael Ronquillo, good morning. Nick and Eric, prayers for Pat Bryant. Appreciate you. For Luce in the house, and good morning. Appreciate you. We got David Youngkin as well. Tell me if I'm wrong. The Broncos win Thursday and Chargers lose Sunday. We win the division. That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, it's correct for the division, and also Denver. They still can win the top seed in the AFC this week. They still need a lot of help. They need the Jaguars to lose, the Patriots to lose, the Bills to lose, and of course the Chargers to lose. As all four teams now have a play for the number one seed. If they all lose and Denver wins, the division's theirs. The top seed in the division or in the conference is theirs. So, it's still doable, especially with how worrisome that season finale game will be with the Chargers, just because Sean Payton's track record against Harbaugh isn't great. And what Harbaugh has done with the Chargers against the Broncos over the last two seasons hasn't been great for Denver. So it's still a possibility that they can, clinch the division, clinch the top seed before then. And man, it is a lot of teams to be rooting for this week for Denver for games to go their way, which this last week, none of the games went the way that they needed to.
No, I mean, to be fair to the Broncos, that was only 3 games total. So, because one of the games was the one you played in, right, for against the Jags, but you still have everything in front of you to control. So hopefully it gets a little better. Dave Glassman says, on a positive note, I'm taking my son to the Christmas game at Arrowhead. Who's going to be the Chiefs quarterback? Eric, I saw Minshew tore his ACL. They're probably going to sit everybody again. I feel like the Chiefs are tanking, honestly, right now to get the highest pick they can. I mean, there's no reason to play these guys. I'll be curious to see if the injury report is as bad or long as it was against the Titans. Did they end up losing against the Titans too?
Yeah, they lost to the Titans. Quarterback is going to be the one Dakota State. I can't remember if it's North or South Dakota State quarterback that they brought in as an undrafted rookie a couple years ago.
Miller?
Chris Oluokun, I think is his name. I'm pretty sure he saw some time against the Broncos last year in that season finale game as well. But can't remember
idea
what his name is.
No idea. Well, that's it is a little unfortunate that we won't be playing the Chiefs at their best, just because to be the best you want to beat the best, and snapping that Arrowhead losing streak is not a guarantee. I don't want to have it. People will have an asterisk on it, but you know what? I don't really care. It'll still, like, in the record books, looking back on it, we won't remember too much, but it'll be great to snap that losing streak. Denver hasn't won in Arrowhead since week 2, 2015. So that's that's no bueno, and don't want to guarantee anything, but my God, if you can't beat the Chiefs, this version of the Chiefs, after losing to the Jags, you don't deserve to even freaking win the division at that point. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens here. If you beat the Jags, it'll be kind of a little bit like, oh, we'll see what happens against the Chiefs. Just stay healthy and be feeling pretty good. Could have wrapped up the division at a 1 seed. But alas, Denver gets trounced on by the Jags. We got Chris coming in here. Thing. We got East Rico.
You are completely cutting out now.
Hello? Okay. Take the wheel.
All right, we have Izzy Rocco 764 coming in saying Broncos country, good morning. This was a rough watch. Hopefully this team uses this loss to reflect and realize that no team will take them lightly. That is for sure. And as I was saying earlier, the Jaguars came in and punched them in the mouth, and hopefully that gives the Broncos their edge back that they kind of lost after the Packers game, even though it was a one game outing against the Jaguars. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a trend for them with it. And David Duncan saying that this team is so inconsistent. That they are. They've been inconsistent all season long. Let's see here. We have Gabe Rock saying, I wouldn't be worried, except I don't think we have a good plan to replace Jones and Cernod. When watching back the game, I don't think PJ Locke played a terrible game by any means. There were a couple bad plays, and that penalty, I disagree with that penalty. Granted, it was a penalty, but when they showed the replay, and it was even hard to hear the whistle on the replay, it makes it, very questionable play, especially with, by the time Locke was going in to hit Lawrence is when Lawrence had stopped his drop back and kind of given up on the play. That was questionable, but then touchdown should have been offensive pass interference. Bretton Strange definitely pushed off on him. But outside of that, I think he was fine. And then Cernod, he's barely been playing since Greenlaw came back anyways. So I don't think the issue was that. As Nick mentioned earlier, Vance Joseph was off in this one. Isaiah Rocco come in and saying Vance was off on this one. That's right. I mean, the blitzing was uncalled for, especially when Lawrence was just consistently hitting the space vacated by it, and Denver was not able to rotate quickly enough for where they were sending the pressure from. There was that play to, I believe it was Parker Washington. That was a great play design by Liam Cohen to handle the blitz where Parker Washington was inside in the slot, Jacoby Myers was outside of him, and there was only one corner between them because Jaquan McMillan came on the blitz, and Dre Greenlaw just didn't rotate over until it was too late after the ball was thrown, which that's on Dre Greenlaw. Greenlaw needed to rotate earlier, realize that the space was going to be vacated, and get into his zone out there. But he was late, and it led to a good play for the Jaguars, and there was just no adjustment off of that. It was just blitz, blitz, blitz. Denver got those 3 sacks early, and then they started to struggle to generate pressure, and that was because the adjustments the Jaguars made, and Vance Joseph's fallback option was to blitz like crazy instead of just trying to get your guys to win one-on-one, be a little bit more creative with it. Denver ended up at one point throwing a pirate stunt at the Jaguars offensive line, and it worked. It threw them off balance, but that was the only time we saw a pirate stunt all game long. We didn't see any Texas stunts from it, which the Jaguars have struggled all season long with handling. That is a way that the Houston Texans absolutely ate this offensive line up with when they played, was with those Texas stunts. And we just don't see it a lot. It's very straightforward with this pass rush, and it's been an issue for a while. Granted, they're still getting sacks, but they haven't been as dominant as they were in the first, 10, 12 weeks, outside of the second Raiders game as well. So it was just a concern for them that they weren't able to go over with that. Let's see here. Anyone else? Yeah, let's get you out of here. No, we don't have to take pressure off the winning streak. We'll be just fine. Riley Moss has got to step up. Yeah, this was a really bad game from Riley Moss. The coverage wasn't great. There was a big dig route to Jacoby Myers where Jacoby Myers was showing inside leverage the whole time. It was very clear what he was going to run. Him running a dig route has been a staple since he joined the Jaguars, and it was a staple of him when he was with the Raiders as well. He just loves to run dig routes. It's like let's see, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's like over 30% of his routes that he's ran over the last 2 years, 3 years, and it's gone up to almost 40% since he's joined the Jaguars. So and Moss was just playing with outside leverage the whole time, even though it was obvious he was going to go moving into the inside, led to a big play there. The missed tackles coming downhill, both of them on Parker Washington, who had like 90 of his 145 yards off of the when yards after the catch, just on those two missed tackles from Riley Moss. He had a couple big plays working downhill earlier in the game, but he really started to struggle. Ever since he's put this focus on not grabbing and holding on, it's been a bit of an issue with him sticking with his guys. It's almost like he has to grab onto them to make sure he doesn't lose them. And that was a bit of a struggle with Moss in this one. Worst game so far from the defense, without a doubt. Jaguars went in, and again, they punched them in the mouth, and they beat them where the Broncos were great at. Third down, red zone. Broncos were the best defense in the NFL in those situations, and the Jaguars made them look like they were one of the worst. So that was definitely an issue here. The roughing the passer call was bogus. Here's the thing. I absolutely hate the weight on the quarterback crap that they're now starting to call. But by the way the rule is written, it was a penalty. Doesn't mean that it was a good penalty. Doesn't mean that the whole idea for that penalty sucks, and is stupid. But with the way it's written, it was a penalty, which is unfortunate. And again, it is such a stupid thing to call. I absolutely hate it. It is one of the worst things that I see. The man coverage in this game. First when we played the Packers, yeah, they ran 74% of zone coverage against the Packers. And Trevor Lawrence, well, he's not as good as Jordan Love is against man coverage. He's still really good. And Denver still ran man coverage at a high rate, and they never got off of it. That is such a issue with them. David asking, should they look at replacing Moss? No, because Chris Evans when he was filling in, there was issues with him as well. Baltimore is done. Yeah, there's going to be major changes coming to Baltimore this offseason. I would not be surprised if Harbaugh is done in Baltimore. That is a concern. Don't understand what is a sack. Yeah, this is why I absolutely hate the call. You can't land with your weight on the quarterback. You have to make some attempt to keep your weight from landing on them. Which is where the penalty came in. Malcolm Roach didn't, make that adjustment to try to keep his weight from landing all on Trevor Lawrence. But the issue is when we look at around the NFL, when we look even at Bo Nix, look at some of those sacks that they've escaped from, right? Where it looks like that they were going to do. And some of it is because, the defenders are trying to ease up because they don't want to get that penalty for it. And it's leading to big plays by the quarterback where they're escaping and all that. And so again, I hate the idea for a penalty of the weight being a thing. You can't land with your full body weight on it. And the data for injuries, because it's all to protect quarterbacks, the data for the injuries isn't any different. It's not like that they did this penalty and now injuries to quarterbacks have suddenly dropped. It's not true. In fact, it's actually leading to more injuries because of defenders are hurting themselves trying to get keep their weight off the quarterback. It's just an issue for them. And it's not, it's why that penalty is so stupid. Coach Chris saying, Eric, good morning. I was at the game and it was sloppy on all fronts. We got outcoached, outplayed, and outreffed. So disappointed. Flew the family after this game, hoping we'd clinch the AFC West. Man, I'm sorry that you were there for this game. That was not a great showing. The first half was great, even though Denver went into the half down 17-10. They were playing well. The defense was definitely having issues, but the offense was, they were keeping it up. It was looking like they could turn this game into a shootout. And then the second half started, and the Broncos, they tied it up 17-17, and then things got out of hand there. After that point, Denver punted, got down 24-17, fumble on the RPO handoff, where Bo Nix looked like he was indecisive with if he wanted to keep it or have McLaughlin take it. And, then it just led to them pressing. It led to Bo Nix kind of panicking. To be honest, Bo Nix kind of turned back into a pumpkin for this one. In that second half, the footwork went out the window, panicking when there was no pressure. There's multiple times where he was getting the ball out too quickly when there was no pressure, or trying to escape out of the pocket when there wasn't enough pressure, not stepping up in the pocket when there was, just looking to escape right away. It was a rough game from him in that second half. But hopefully you can sit there and, turn back to what it was. Hopefully it was just a instance of with how the game was going, just trying to do too much. And if the Broncos defense can bounce back and keep games closer and keep things from getting out of hand, Bo Nix can play with a little bit more consistency throughout the game, and get back to playing what we saw for the majority of this time since the mini bye week after that first Raiders game from him. Um, and then also, and the rest was the reason we lost. We lost because we couldn't force them to punt. Our defense was on the field forever. Yeah, this was a lot I saw that have seen last night and early this morning before going live. A lot of blaming the refs and the penalties. No, the penalties, as much as they sucked, the Denver's defense was getting whipped. Like they absolutely got walloped by this Jaguars offense. They had no answers for it, and penalties only had an impact on a couple of the drives. Even without those penalties, Denver's still probably losing this game just because of how the Jaguars were just so effective at moving the ball. We have Nick sitting in the back. Not sure if what he's doing right now, but maybe he'll get back in here
I'm going to
shortly.
try to join in my phone.
Okay.
Did you hear me? It sounded like
Yeah.
it took forever to get it sent, so I'll be back.
Okay. All right. Pat Bryant injury status. He was released from the hospital. He's still being evaluated for concussion. Probably not going to play on Thursday night. Maybe not play against the Chargers either, as he's working through this. But it is a concussion that he is dealing with. And the great news is that before he left the stadium, even though he was, taken off the field and put into an ambulance immediately, he was moving. There was movement in his extremities, which is always a great thing because that was a scary hit. String guy saying, I think we beat the Chiefs on Thursday, so it all comes down to the Chargers game. The scary thing is all the injuries on defense. Yeah, it is a concern. That is for sure. That Chargers game with, I mentioned it just a little bit ago with Harbaugh's history against Sean Payton and, the Chargers history against the Broncos the last 2 years, or since since Harbaugh has come in to the Chargers as the head coach. It's definitely a concern. My hope is that the games go the way that they need to for the other games. The Texans beat the Chargers and Denver wins. I think Denver will beat the Chiefs on Thursday with the way what Chiefs are doing. They seem to be loving the tank right now for the draft. And so, Denver hopefully can go in and beat them. But we have Nick back in on his phone. So how are you doing, Nick? Now that you're back in here?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. Let me know. My parents, I guess they don't have internet in Iowa that works. So hopefully this is working okay. You got to let me know in the chat. I'm literally right next to the router and they have the Ethernet cable, but my computer doesn't have an Ethernet port on it. And I left at home my Ethernet to micro USB converter because I don't need it. That's been using that at home. So let me know if this is working for you. Obviously the sound quality is not going to be as good and I have 5G instead of LTE. It's not like I live in the boonies in Iowa or in the sticks or anything, but yeah, I don't think I've had internet issues in a bit. So am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you're coming through fine. The sound quality is obviously a little bit bad, and you're a little bit on the quieter side, but it's good enough to get through for this. And we have Coach Chris coming in with a $20 super chat. Just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and very prosperous New Year. God bless and let's go Broncos. Yes, Merry Christmas to you, Coach Chris. Thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. And a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody else. We're just a matter of days away from the big holiday, my favorite holiday of the year. I know that not everybody celebrates Christmas, but whatever holiday you happen to celebrate out of the so many that happened over, during the month of December and early January, I hope you guys have a very wonderful holiday season. Spending time with your family and friends. And thank you again so much, Coach Chris. And again, sorry that you were there at that game last night wanting to see them clinch the division. And it's just a bummer that it didn't, turn out that way.
Yeah, it is a bummer. But speaking of the holidays, Eric, we want to shout out to our friends over at Cash App.
Yeah, so the holidays are all about finding the perfect gift, but this time of year, not every deal is actually what it seems. Scammers are getting more creative to trick people into sharing their payment info through methods like fake shopping sites and giveaways that are too good to be true. Luckily, Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps detect and alert you for unusual card activity. Should someone gain access to your card, so you can act fast if something seems off. You can also lock or unlock your Cash App card instantly right in the app for extra control and peace of mind. Stay one step ahead of scams this season and keep your money secure with Cash App.
For limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, just download Cash App, use our exclusive referral code Secure10 in your profile, send $5 to a friend, and within 14 days, you'll get $10 dropped right back into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Incorporated brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Let's keep it rocking and rolling here. Hopefully, I don't sound too much like a robot. Maybe this is an older one. Gosh darn internet. We got young Tyrone says too many missed tackles yesterday in the game, and the refs. I mean, did the refereeing favor the Broncos in this game? No, but you got beat soundly. You were down 34-17 at some point. It was a drubbing by the Jaguars, and they just could not stop Trevor Lawrence in the pass game. I think I saw a stat, Eric. He's 17 touchdowns and 0 turnovers in the last 5-6 weeks or something, 6-game winning streak. And they couldn't tackle Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers and Strange. I mean, everybody besides Patrick Surtain. And my first watch, which was on my phone because not in coverage for the game, which was stupid, but I guess maybe a good thing in hindsight because it's a good thing maybe the country didn't see that game for the most part. But no, it was I don't even know. They couldn't tackle, they couldn't cover, and Trevor Lawrence just diced them up. And they got Liam Cohen hat tip to you, hat tip to Trevor Lawrence. They didn't run the ball well. At least I didn't think the Jags ran the ball. Just the pass game, Trevor Lawrence made every right decision. They made some great catches, and in the end, that led to the Jags just beating up on the Denver Broncos. And Denver defense, which probably since week 11, I'd imagine is probably bottom 10 in EPA per play. So it was a rough game. And it's weird looking at the stats too, Eric, because a lot of the big stats would indicate the Broncos had potentially a better game, the yards per play, much higher, significantly higher than the Jags. But Denver once again loses the penalty battle. I mean, Jags only 2 for 20 yards, I think, in this one, maybe even less than that, because can't pull it up because my internet is so crappy. And then you also lose the turnover battle, 2-0, which that last one, it counts. You were making a moving the football still, and Bo Nix made let's just call it what it is, a horse bleep decision with the football on that 4th down, because it literally there was 4 guys I think in the pattern, and he threw it to the absolute worst one. Every other ones, there was a guy having a chance. No chance on that one, but that happens to quarterbacks. You can point out to a lot of guys.
And on that interception, hat tip to the Jaguars. They did their work. There's a trend with the Broncos when it comes to short yarded situations. They love a very certain type of throw, and that's what they turned to on that. And they baited it. They had Sutton looking like he had that open, and as soon as Nix was starting his windup, the Jones broke on the play, and they gave it to him. The defender that was actually covering Sutton was playing with a leverage that makes it look like it's that he's open, that pass is there. They did their work, they saw the trend, and they took advantage of it, and they baited Bo Nix on that throw. So hat tip to the Jaguars for doing their work on that. As much as it sucks, obviously, and I've seen a lot of people criticize Bo Nix because of how open Tyler Bidet was on it, and it's rough, and it's a issue that we've seen with Bo Nix over the last couple of years. When he locks in on a guy, he does struggle to break off of it a little bit. And, when it's, 3rd and short and 4th and short, there's issues with this offense, and it's not just the Bo Nix fault, but there's issues with this offense of just taking what you need and not always going for the bigger play. Tyler Bidet would have been just getting what you need and living to fight another down. And Sutton was a little bit more all or nothing and just enabled the Jaguars to completely bait them.
Yeah. Ugly game, Eric. Ugly game. I don't feel necessarily good about it coming out of it, but luckily it is just one game for the Broncos in that one, And now it looks like Eric maybe froze on this one. So you guys in the chat, let me
It's
know.
just my stupid webcam.
All right, perfect. Well, technical difficulties, kind of like the Broncos in this game. Yeah, I mean, again, coming back to the stats, Eric, you wouldn't necessarily think it was a beatdown that we kind of saw out there. 22 first downs for the Jags versus 21 versus the Broncos, 65 to 68 plays. Broncos outgained them 445 to 346, 344 passing to 265 passing. Denver even won the rushing battle, 101 to 81. They won the sack differential, 4 for 14 yards versus 1 for 8. But the real difference in this one, and it's things we've tipped our cap on, well, a few of the stats, but Jags going 4 for 5 in the red zone. Broncos #1 red zone defense in football coming into this. Don't know if that'll be the case coming out of it. The Jags were, now granted, again, hat tip to them because they made some pretty ridiculous, like that pass to Strange, even if it was like, could have been maybe OPI. I don't know where you feel about that one, but like great throw by Trevor. Yeah, great. You tend to be a little bit slanted in your some of the ones against the Broncos where it's 50-50. Sometimes I feel like, let them play that one. But for all you might,
no, it's a matter of just knowing the rule, and if it's
I got you
against it, doesn't mean it's not a bad call. But that was a bad missed call. He clearly pushed off, which is OPI.
Yeah, just Broncos have been winning on the razor's edge a lot this season, and this was a game where those 50-50 ones win against you more than not. Like I can think, like there was the penalty on Little Jordan Humphrey where it was lean with the shoulder. That was the only one I can think of where it was like 50-50 kind of went towards the Broncos. Like I think whoever was the official in the booth as well, like the ref commentator said, I don't think it was. I think he led with the shoulder, and they still had the flag. That's about it though for the Broncos. But yeah, 4 for 5 in the red zone, not nearly good enough. Denver 6 penalties for 61 versus 2 for 20, and then the dreaded turnover. Denver's defense, once again, they cannot create takeaways, man. They're not like the Jets, who haven't forced a single interception this season, which is bad bleep. But Denver they're not good at creating takeaways. It's really frustrating, and it's something that is plummeting and spiraling this defense this season. So I don't know. I mean, the offense, not balanced, not Bo Nix's best game. He had some good throws. Like, don't get me wrong, he had some good pocket movement. Like, he wasn't the reason they lost this game by any means. Like, you go down the list of like the reasons the Broncos lost this game, he's way down there. But not his best game. But yeah, I just keep coming back. I don't even know what the solution is for the defense. One thing I do know about this with the defense is it's really going to amplify my offseason draft takes, where we're going to be talking adding defense in the first round is a viable solution. Because I know a lot of people in the chat, it's all got to be about helping Bo Nix, and we kind of got fantasy Madden football brain where we have to add an offensive weapon. But I mean, this defense looks like it could use some reinforcements as well.
Yeah, the issue is like when you look at this defense on paper, they have a pretty widespread amount of talent throughout it. It's just once injuries happen, we're not seeing the depth, and we could really use that one. We could use what we could really use is Talanoa Hufanga to catch a ball, because I think there was another one in this game where it kind of glanced off his hands. But it is they got to figure out something, because whether it is a piece on the another chess piece in the defensive secondary that can allow them to be a little bit more versatile with their coverages or something, because I mean I don't know if you were in here yet in the back or not, but I was talking about it. The zone rate that they had against the Packers was 74%. We didn't see that against the Jaguars, where Lawrence is, again, one of the better quarterbacks against man coverage, and it was just so consistent, and he just kept attacking the spot vacated by the blitz. Denver could use a top-tier pass rusher up front. Nick Benito's great, and he's still having a major impact, but if he's not winning one-on-ones, which he hasn't been a whole lot over the last few weeks, to where he's consistent threat, well, we're kind of seeing the Broncos defense pay the price for it. So they could definitely use defensive help, but it's just hard figuring out where you can go for that outside of the interior defensive line or even linebacker early with it. And maybe you have a conversation about moving on from Brandon Jones. Maybe you have a conversation about moving on from Dre Greenlaw, which could help open up the needs for that. So it is It's hard to figure out where exactly outside of the couple places they can go for defense early. But we do have Michael Ronquillo coming in with a $5 super chat saying Jacksonville Jaguars did not like Sean Payton's comments about small market NFL teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nick, I don't know about you. I find the fact that they took such an insult to that to be stupid. They are a small market team, and it's not like it's a unknown fact. But hey, more power to them for finding something to energize them so much, and it worked. They came in and absolutely pounced all over the Broncos basically from start to finish. But I found the small market comment to be on the kind of the dumber side of something to get so offended over.
You got to manufacture motivation, I guess, wherever it comes. But yeah, no, I really thought that was silly and overall pretty stupid. But it kind of just is what it is too. So good for them. Lee and Cohen talking about it, coming out of the game, and also, the players heading to the locker room screaming about it. I don't know. My interpretation was Sean Payton saying, like, because they're a small market team, they're not getting the attention that they deserve, but this is a good team coming in. But you say anything and give them bulletin board material, it's whatever. So good for them. I like the Broncos comments coming out of the locker room too, saying like, listen, we got beat. We didn't play well. Sean Payton saying first it starts with me, then get into losing all three phases. They did. And also talking about, I think it was Troy Franklin who said, like, we're going to see this team again. So hopefully it's in Denver. But, I'm also not necessarily, hopefully it's in Denver, God, because if not, that's a problem. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know exactly what the odds are from this loss coming out of it, but hopefully the Broncos take control of it. And I talked about it earlier, Eric. It is unfortunate to some extent that we're not going to play the full-blown Chiefs or not getting a chance to have Denver actually like knock them out, where it's like, okay, we're better than you, kind of got that monkey off our back. But at this point, I'll be happy to clinch that 1 seed because the AFC is wide open. And I'm very thankful, even though the Houston Texans had a scare against the Raiders this week, Houston versus Chargers should be a bloodbath. So I think a lot of things are favorable for the Broncos going forward in these last two matchups, right? Like you got not only the Broncos playing a very injured Chiefs team, but you're going to have a lot of time to prepare for the Chargers as well. And that Chargers offense going against one of the top 3 most physical defenses in football. It's crazy. It's probably some sort of bias in there, but like I think probably the most 2 physical defenses are the best 2 in the Seahawks and the Texans. And I don't know. We'll see what the Chargers look like. The Broncos going to have another mini bye coming up versus that Chargers game after the Chiefs game. And the Chargers play one of the worst opponents you can play, because I'd imagine teams that are coming off games against the Texans lose quite often the following week with how physical they are.
It's almost as bad as it is after playing Denver, where Denver the week after playing Denver, teams that only have like 2 wins on the season. I think for the Texans, it's 3 wins on the season, but I'm not entirely sure. I know it's bad. I saw a tweet about it last night, and it was it was for the Broncos' favor. It was like, hey, don't be so worried about the Chargers because after facing the Texans, teams are 3 and something or like that or whatever after facing them. But it is a tough one, and it's unfortunate because talking about games that needed to go in Denver's way, the Raiders beating the Texans was one of them. Even though it didn't directly impact the Broncos seeding or chances at winning the division or anything like that, it made it easier to handle a Texans beating the Chargers game when it comes to playoff seeding, because the Texans are one team that even in Denver, I do not want to face come the playoffs. And so I was looking at that. With that in mind, it would have been nice to see the Raiders pull it off and then have the Texans turn around and beat the Chargers. But hey, it is what it is. Still need the Texans to go do their thing this weekend. I believe on Saturday. I believe it's a Saturday game between the Chargers and the Texans.
I think you're right.
And so hopefully they get it done. We have Coach Chris coming in saying with coming in gifting 10 Mile High Huddle memberships. Thank you, Coach Chris. We appreciate that. If you guys are one of the lucky ones who were gifted a membership and you're sitting here in the chat, make sure you give Chris a thank you for that. We appreciate you, Coach Chris, coming in, not just with the super chat, not just with gifting Mile High Huddle memberships, but also just being part of the conversation here with us. And then there was another thing that you said that I wanted to just touch on quickly, but I can't remember what it was now. Oh, talking about Bo Nix with his play. I think the first half was fine. I think he actually had a pretty good first half when I went back and watched it. It was this second half. The Jaguars started to get a little bit more pressure. That's when we started to see him panic a little bit more in the pocket, not step up as much, be late with throws, be off target with throws. It just started to be a little bit more problematic in the second half. And, not quite to that first game Raiders level, but not far from it with what we got of it. And statistically, he had a fine game, over 350 yards, completing just under 60% of his passes, which isn't ideal. One touchdown, one interception, then the fumble, but it wasn't a terrible game from him all around. As you were saying, he definitely if you want to rank, go through all the starters on both sides of the ball and put them in an order, he's probably, somewhere 18 to 22. Like, he's one of the way down there because of what he was able to do in the first half that helped keep energy in Denver. He had a pretty good energizing run there as well off an RPO. So not a bad issue, but that second half was concerning enough for him that hopefully you're hoping that he didn't turn back into a pumpkin, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a relatively NFL inexperienced quarterback, and I really hate. I mean, granted, the fault of this is the defense more than anything else, with how they were not getting off the field, but overall, I can't even really. I feel like I can't evaluate him too much. Like the mesh or the RPO where that was a fumble, like what the hell are you doing there? Some of the missed throws, but overall, I don't know. It was a average game from him, but that doesn't bother me too much. What really bothers me coming out of this one is the defense, and I know Riley also gets piled on, understandably so. He had a terrible game to the point it's like, okay, well, we need to start having a conversation. And I've been, I thought he's played well in phase, and I honestly don't even really have too much issue with the coverage in this one, but it's not good enough where the tackling can be as bad as it was in this one. And I know that Chris Abrams drained based on how they've utilized him and played him. I don't know if they fully trust him as a tackler also. So that's a concern, right? Like last year when we saw them in base, they would go to anything but Chris Abrams drain. They'd play him then in nickel where it's like the obvious pass stuff or more deep pass. So I don't know if that's a move for them that's viable. The one that stands out to me is more moving Barron to the perimeter. I know Vance Joseph's talked about that as well, but then you kind of lose that dime look that you've been using a lot this season. And I think that's emphatically more an issue with Brandon Jones being out now. So it's not a good situation to be. I know Riley's going to get piled on. I mean, I just spent some time piling on it, but this was a ass game from Jaquan McMillan as well. He was terrible in this game. He got picked on left and right, and I know a lot of the, Riley Moss makes the louder mistakes, but just based on the statistics this season, I think Jaquan McMillan, when teams have targeted the Broncos slot, they're 28th in EPA per play this season. Wide receiver 3 is Broncos are one of the 4 worst teams in giving up yardage to wide receiver 3. And that was no exception in this one. I mean, freaking Parker Washington. There we go. 6 receptions on 10 targets for 145 yards and that 63-yard one. I mean, defense is a weak link one, and that's one reason I was not against taking Barron in the first round. If you trust your board and you want to kind of help the room, but when you have 2 guys having issues as much as them, as well as the linebackers who just cannot really eat space up sideline to sideline right now, it's a problem against a good quarterback who is getting rid of the ball and reading the coverage well.
And this isn't in no way a defense of Jaquan McMillan. He was absolutely terrible in this one. And it was funny with the touchdown he allowed. They're talking about how well he played it. He didn't play it very well because he just absolutely was playing on the outside and they just completely ignored the inside. And that's where it was. But on 3 of the Parker Washington plays, Riley Moss was the guy in coverage twice. And both of them were the ones with the missed tackle that he picked up the yards after the catch, almost 90 yards after the catch on those, over 90 yards. And then the other one, and another one was Jaquan McMillan was sent on the blitz, and Dre Greenlaw was just absolutely lost in space and didn't rotate out to cover Parker Washington. So just to be a little bit fair to Jaquan McMillan there, but he has been bad, especially over the last few weeks. For the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, he was the best corner for the Broncos in with what he was doing in his play, and he wasn't getting targeted a whole lot. And now we're starting to see teams target him. Maybe that performance early in the season was because of just how little he was getting targeted, and they were just trying to pick on it. But on a whole, with this coverage unit, one thing I'm absolutely getting tired of hearing is, well, they had great coverage, but they still allowed a touchdown. Denver's been beaten by a great throw and catch a lot this season, to the point where maybe the coverage isn't as great as we think it is. And with that in mind, one of them being that Parker Washington touchdown on Jaquan McMillan. He didn't have great coverage on it. He just played the outside leverage of it and just completely ignored the inside. So it's something that you got to figure out. And there's been a couple of those this year. I mean, the Traylon Burks one, going back to that one was definitely throw and catch, just beat it. But there's been a lot of them this year, and I spent some time last night going back over and watching them. The coverage on some of these touchdowns hasn't been as great to where it's, a masterful throw and catch that beat him. But Denver definitely has issues going on. And with Brandon Jones out, I'm not sure what the answer is, because even though I don't think PJ Locke was absolutely terrible in this game, I think he was fine. What they had to do with some of the other stuff that Brandon Jones brought to them, particularly covering for the linebackers, they didn't have PJ Locke doing that. So that's a bit of an issue. And you mentioned it with Barron about playing on the outside. I'd be more interested in seeing Barron playing safety with Brandon Jones out over Locke, because of his experience kind of in that role. Having him start there, using him in a way of being able to help cover the linebackers a little bit, because when he's out there on the field, it's still some of what he's doing. And then when they go to those dime looks, then bring PJ Locke in as the other safety and moving Barron to that. But it's got to be something, because as fine as PJ Locke was, they were definitely very clearly missing Brandon Jones.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up here pretty soon. I see Harp Drinker coming in, says Trevor's got his swag back. Yeah, he was playing really good football. I mean, 23 for 36, 279 yards, with that 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Again, a lot of the peripheral stats, when you look at the basic, boomer stats, I heard somebody say that earlier, and I always kind of fight against some of the count statistics, would say that Broncos did, not terrible, but like Trevor having 0.33 EPA per play compared to Bo Nix at 0.02. I mean, like, the advanced stats are better, right? They're just more indicative of what's actually going on. And yeah, the Jags were just like, they didn't have the explosives. Well, they had some explosives, but like not the same rate as the Broncos were living on in this game. But they were just so successful down to down. Their success rate, 73% on the today. Just crazy series success rate for them. And didn't matter if obviously it was more so the passing game, but yeah, overall, just rough. My final point I wanted to get to, Eric, though, I know the Broncos were really struggling in this one in their down-to-down success rate with the run specifically. 46% success rate, 44, with the run, not good enough. But the split in this one is rough. I never want to see Bo Nix throwing the ball 47 times compared to 17 rush attempts. Just to protect the offensive line, protect him. I know some of that, again, is the game flow as well. I'm feeling like, we got to keep up. And I know the Jags personnel also kind of dictates throwing the ball a bit more, because they have so much length on the defensive line. But I don't know. I hate that personally. I think you got to be a little bit more balanced to protect your offensive line and be more efficient with your drop back game.
Yeah, so one thing you said was about how the game kind of dictated it. When the game got out of hand, once it got, 31-17, you're kind of forced to pass a little bit more. The issue was, out of the first, 46 plays the Broncos ran, 9 of them were runs. That's not good enough. That's where the issue is, and that was before the game even got out of hand. They had 8 runs before the end of the first half. 8. They had 1 run in, that first drive coming out of the half. It's not good enough. And even though the Broncos run game has been inconsistent, you said what, a 44 success rate running the ball? 44%. That's actually not bad when you look at the averages around the NFL. Average for games for around the NFL, I believe, is at just under 46%. It's like 45 point something. So it's not bad. And they got helped with some explosive runs there, but McLaughlin had 2. Harvey had the one really big run there, and you can't, even though the Jaguars are a good run defense, even though their personnel kind of dictates pass a little bit, you can't have 9 running plays out of 47 total plays in for the first half and 2 drives, because that is up until the fumble, that drive, not even counting that drive. It's just before the drive before that. So it wasn't good enough. A lot of issues with the run game in this one, and I think the bigger issue is that it has a bit of a bigger problem with the fact of when Denver's defense was struggling as much early, Denver could have used some longer sustained drives to kind of close out that first half and start the second half, and they just weren't able to do it. And part of that is they just weren't running the ball.
You're right, Eric. Luckily for the Broncos, because the Chiefs are so beat up, and the last game will be against the Chargers as well, Denver probably isn't an underdog the rest of the season. I wish they would have been an underdog in this one, or overdog, whatever they like to call themselves, because I think they were favored according to Vegas, and they got spanked. But we still do love a good underdog over here at Mile High Huddle.
Yeah, speaking of underdogs, football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Are you ready to get off the bench and into the game? Then head over to Underdog. Whether you're into basketball, football, hockey, or any sport in between, Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action all season long.
That's right. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats such as rushing yards, receptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash.
Yeah, I have so much fun playing Underdog, and winning money while watching football, that's a touchdown, you guys. Download the Underdog app today and sign up with promo code MHuddle to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code MHuddle. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next?
I don't have the read up,
Be
so I'm
18
just going
plus,
to do it, Eric.
19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in
19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and President of State where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Consider to play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Ooh, I think I'm better than the other one, Eric. I don't know about you. I don't know if the sound quality came across, but I was scrolling down trying to find it. We didn't get it, so it is what it is. Yeah, Frisco coming in here says we got our behinds whipped. Checkmate. I think that's check. It's not officially checkmate until you are bounced from the playoffs, Frisco. So right now the Broncos were put in check by the Jags. We still got pawns, and we still got our king on the field too. So hope you're having a good one, and congrats to your Niners this season as well, holding up despite all the injuries. So now we're going to see how it plays out for the Broncos down the stretch here, Eric. Again, I just keep coming back to the big stat that changed the script, because the Broncos this season, even when the defense has been good to great, they've been giving up yards, but they've been so good in situational football, third down, and the red zone. And to give up 4 for 5 against the Jags, where like some of the games this season we've seen, the Packers even, getting in the red zone twice, only coming away with 6 points, or maybe even 9 points on the first 3 drives or something. But going 4 for 5, that's a killer. I mean, you wipe off, 8 points off the scoreboard here, and with the Broncos the way they were playing there at the end, you got a chance. But the offense was not able to go blow for blow, which again, 34 points, it would take a pretty special, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, primetime kind of going back and forth. You remember that game from 4 or 5 years ago, or the Rams versus Ravens, like some of those crazy games. It's not necessarily fair that you have to have your quarterback play that level. That you're talking about like first team All Pro, which, Bo Nix has been pretty good as of late, but he's not one of those dudes right now with his caliber of play, which is fine. But the defense, again, that's just what I come down to. And is this going to be a wake-up call? I don't know. I think I don't want to get on my pedestal here, but I think like one of the stupidest talking points that'll probably come out of this game is, look at the 97 and 98 and 2015 Broncos. They lost 2 games in December. We have to lose 2 games. It's a pattern. We repeat it. Like, whatever happened in 2015, let alone 97 and 98, has absolutely no bearing on the Broncos. What the message I think that does have some weight is that the season's not over because you drop a December game against a good opponent. Maybe it's a wake-up call. I think it's horse, what to say, like, you needed this loss. Can you use it as a learning opportunity? Sure, but you'd much rather have that win, I think, in your back pocket than anything else. So I think that's just, general fan coping, and maybe some more of the some media that's, trying to placate the fans as well. But I just think that annoys me preemptively. I've already seen it some from fans and whatnot, and I just think that's just dumb. I mean, that doesn't mean anything for what's going to happen with this Broncos team.
Yeah, playing into the pattern aspect of it, that is a little bit silly, but it's definitely, you can definitely look at it and look at, just the history of teams that won the Super Bowl in December. A lot of them have a loss in December, and it's often viewed as that game where, it kind of knocks them on their butt a little bit and they have to, reevaluate and get back on it. It gives them their edge back, whatever way you want to put it. So you can look at that and kind of take a little bit of, that aspect of it. But Denver would much rather have the win in this one, and all of Broncos country should as well. You don't need a loss in December. It's not something that you have to come by. It's not a pattern. Doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl now. If they do win the Super Bowl, it would be coincidental. But it's just one of those things. And then Michael Wakila here, we're coming in, says Garrett Bowles was back on holding calls. There was only one offensive holding call on this game, and it was on the Jaguars. Garrett Bowles got hit with false starts, not holding.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he might have even been saved from another one from the
Walker Little got called for one offensive holding, and that was the only one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the refs didn't call that many penalties in this one on the whole, 8 total. So I don't know. We'll see. And also, out of the last 3 Super Bowl winners, there's only been 1 loss in December combined from the Eagles last season. They were on a run. You had the Chiefs lose 1 game 2 years ago, and the Chiefs went undefeated in December in 2023. So again, like, there's no pattern here.
All right, we have Ebenezer Scrooge here.
I'm just saying, like, I just think you're going to see some either stupid or unauthentic talking points from some in the media being like, this was needed or this is a pattern. Because look at the Broncos. The only times they've won the Super Bowl. No connection at all. I know the human brain wants to, like, organize things and, like, find patterns. Football is a chaos sport in a universe of entropy. Right? It's like, not to get too philosophical here, or let's get into quantum mechanics here, Eric. Multi-world theories. But in all those one-score games, there's an alternate universe where the Broncos lost those ones. But I don't know. Hopefully they learn from it. Maybe it's something to refocus them and they can spiritually lean on that. But I don't think it matters that much as far as the patterns of these previous Broncos.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate they lost this game. This game had the biggest impact on the AFC playoffs out of all the games that were remaining. On this one, it was just because of the Jaguars' win keeps them well alive for the number 1 seed, and it puts a lot of doubt in the Broncos and winning the division and winning the AFC. So it was a very important game, and Denver entered the week having to win 2 out of the final 3 games. Still need to just win the last 2 games, and that's it. But it's just a lot murkier now. They still have, I believe it's 52% chance or odds to win the number 1 seed in the division. And that comes because of the fact they have the tiebreaker over the Patriots. So it's still looking favorable for them. Their odds of winning the division is still sitting at like 70 some odd percent. And so it's looking good for the Broncos overall. They had a bad game. They have the Kansas City comes on as David Oliver comes in and says, we had a bad game. Can they get on Kansas City? They definitely can. My slight worry here is they go out and they take out all their frustration against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they lay a goose egg against the Chargers. That is a fear that I have for it. Of instead of holding on to some of that frustration, holding on to, some of all of that they're feeling from it. Nick Benito, he came out and he talked about it, and with how the defense is playing, a lot of players you talked about it, the comments of it, outside of Alex Singleton, they all seem to be very upset. Alex Singleton is like, I don't want to, you guys don't need to crap on us too much. We still have 12 wins. But everybody else, they seem very, what's the right word here?
Disheartened.
Yeah, disheartened about this loss, and hopefully it can carry over, not just between the Chiefs, but to the Chargers game as well, because you can't bet on other teams losing games to help you win, and all Denver has to do is win out, and that's it. And they win the division, they win the top seed. That needs to be their focus. Like, as much as we talk about rooting for other teams, Denver just has to win.
And I really hope we do get this rematch in the playoffs. I think Denver is going to would be excited for the opportunity. Hopefully it's in Denver, but even if it's in Jacksonville, I expect it to be a good game. I mean, if, again, patterns in the past don't matter, but I think back to 2012 with the Broncos-Ravens, and the Broncos beat the absolute tar out of the Ravens in Baltimore in the regular season of that one. They came into Denver, and thanks to Bill Vinovich, I blame him more than Raheem Moore, but the Ravens came in and beat Denver in Denver and went on a run to win the Super Bowl. So we'll see how it plays out, Eric, but hopefully we'll have another chance at the Jags in Denver. And I think that'll be if that happens, that's going to be a haymaker game because the Broncos are going to be kicked about that, and the Jags are really feeling themselves right now, as they should. So Broncos are going to play on Christmas because Mahomes and Chiefs aren't going to be playing very many people. I'm not sure how much of a fireworks game that is going to be or feel like for the Broncos. They need to freaking take care of business. And then you got that Chargers game. Well, before we get out of here, Eric, I know you got to go. I got to go too. I did want to give a shout out to the fans. They were very loud in this one when the team was in it. Obviously, they had the sails, wind taken out of their sails when the Jags were hitting explosives and Denver was taking horrible angles and tackling like they were pee-wee football out there versus, a varsity team. Very upsetting, and that's been a trend here as of late for this secondary back seven in general. So we'll see how they adjust. They do have a mini bye coming up before that Chargers game, and they play against a Chiefs team that it would be the upset of the season if Denver lost this game in Arrowhead, given how much they have to play for and how that Chiefs team looks right now. So again, I don't want to guarantee anything, but you cannot lose that game.
And the Chiefs are just absolutely loving the tank right now. They're just absolutely loving it. But with the Jaguars, I don't know what it is recently. I know there for a while, teams always wanted to not necessarily lose the regular season matchup because for the longest time, if a team, not counting division games, if a team lost to an opponent in the regular season, the team who lost often won in the playoffs. I don't know if that still holds up true because, thinking back to this was 2017, 2018 that I saw the numbers, but so I'll be very curious to see how that holds up now, but it is a matchup that I would love to see happen again. And I'm with you. I think the Broncos will be definitely, very frustrated, whether it's in Denver, whether it's in Jacksonville. It would be, as much as I don't want to see it, it would be a little bit poetic to go into Jacksonville and, beat the pants off them in Jacksonville, especially with them being a small market team and, having issues selling tickets sometimes. But man, that really annoys me. But JD Splash coming and saying Broncos looks a little sluggish in the game. That is definitely for sure. 12-3 is not the end of the world, but I really wanted that one. It would have been nice to have, just gave a little bit more of a protection for it. But I think that's gonna do it for us. And so I will be
I'm back.
I'll run us out here.
Yeah, it's dropped for a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to try my work laptop after here connected to the Ethernet, but it's one of those things that you don't know until it's actually going, and I only do it once a year from over here, so frustrating. I'll not be back live Tuesday, but we will be back live again Friday morning, a reaction to this game. So to the Chiefs game. And yeah, happy holidays to everybody. Make sure you're following Eric and I on Twitter, X, whatever it is. Eric is at Eric Trickle. I'm at Nick Kendall, MHH. Also follow us at Mile High Huddle. We're at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, please like, subscribe, and share. Apologies for the troubleshooting, especially because we don't have a producer who's been out a lot. So Dylan's been dealing with some health stuff and just other life stuff. So hopefully he's doing better, and we'll get him back here soon. Shout out to David Youngkin, Coach Chris, Michael Ronquillo, Coach Chris again. You guys killing it. Appreciate you all. Eric, thanks for dealing with my internet issues here as well. I can literally see the Wi-Fi here, but I just don't know the setup. And we haven't had issues, at least on my end, for like months, I feel like, when I've been recording at home, but I'm directly hooked up to the internet through an Ethernet, and I have a converter because my laptop that I use for this doesn't have a US or a Ethernet port. So I have the Ethernet to USB converter. Like, I don't need to bring that. God bless it. Yeah, already packing stuff to bring a toddler in Christmas gifts and 2 pets driving across country. I had to make some decisions, and that was a mistake maybe in hindsight. So we'll see if I can get the work computer working with that here. But any final thoughts? Yeah, Broncos got their butts kicked. The first loss this season by double digits. It is unfortunate. It's going to hurt that point differential. They're going to be one of those teams with like terrible point differential for their record historically because they've won so many one-score games, even though a lot of them haven't been one-score games in reality they are, but not in like feel like that. Packers game, how they played at the end, that wasn't really a one-score game.
The second Raiders game.
The Raiders game, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's got a big game coming up. We're not going to preview the Chiefs game either, so hopefully it's a good one for the Broncos. We'll hopefully find out more about Greenlaw and Pat Bryant as well. And yeah,
And
it stinks.
Atkins and DJ Jones.
DJ Jones too? I didn't even know that one. I knew Atkins was ruled out. I think we're not going to see Atkins again. He was
Probably
ruled out very quickly with that knee injury. Maybe we'll see him again in the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was season ending, given how quickly he was ruled out with a knee, non-contact knee, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was contact. It was on the Bo Nix RPO run. You can see him as he's running. You can see him. He's blocking somebody, and then after that, he starts to limp as he's running. Continued out the play and still had a key block for Nix on it. But
well, the ones I'm worried about are that one. I mean, he's an auxiliary player, but he's a useful one at that, especially because Ingram can't block. No, I mean, we have Prentice here kind of fill some of that Atkins role.
Old really man Lewis as well.
Yeah, old man Lewis. So hopefully Bryant is okay. And Greenlaw, not that Greenlaw's been great for Denver. I know he brings like an energy, but like let's call it as it is. Like he's been pretty average, I think, on the whole. He's helped the run game between the tackles. Like he's definitely better there than Singleton is, and I think Stranad as well. He just brings a little bit more of a physicality to some of those plays. But yeah, it's we want those guys healthy because no team can survive with a lot of depth, especially this team. While this is a good Broncos team, you can't get to the second, third string without some drop and play. So, Eric, go ahead.
I was just going to say, before we get out of here, just a reminder, it's the holiday season. Hope you guys have a wonderful holiday, but make sure you guys reach out to your loved ones and your friends and let them know that you love them and you care about them and that you're there for them. This is always a tough season for a lot of people. A lot of people start to feel extra lonely as, you know, everybody has friends and family around and they may not. So make sure you guys reach out to everybody, let them know that you care, let them know that they matter, let them know that you love them. We love and appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in every single night and every single morning. Cannot express how much we appreciate that, and especially those of you who come in and super chat and donate and give gift memberships. We love you all so much. Thank you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. Hope you guys have a wonderful Merry Christmas. We will be back on Friday, as Nick said, but go Broncos. Hopefully they help themselves with the win. And again, just Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everybody.
Have a good one. Happy holidays. We'll see you guys later. And I can get us on out of here, I think. There we go. Peace. Kindness and compassion. Happy holidays. Hopefully it ends here with the internet being very slow for me.